Okay, so I am a pro-life person, but I have to be honest. I don't think a lot of pro-lifers are very honest with this one thing. I think this is actually really, really crucial. I think the main point of disagreement between, if you actually break it down, between pro-life people and pro-choice people is like where life actually begins. Like, when does a person actually become a person? And basically every pro-life person I know, they say, well, obviously all the old science books, like old science textbooks, they said like life began at conception. So that means obviously that we're going to claim that this is the thing that we know that life begins at conception, the end. And they like pull out some other studies and stuff like heartbeat and stuff like that. And it's like, I mean, yeah, there's something there, but I mean, like, I don't know, that's definitely not proof. But they're like, this is what we say and you have to buy this, or else we're going to make the rules based on this assumption that we made. And we don't know if that's true. How could you couldn't know if that's true. And I think I have to be honest, I think I have to come out and say that. But I think there's something else. From the pro-choice perspective, you say life, viability, value of like a human person begins at, I don't know, let's say birth. It's slightly dependent. Some people say like 8 months or something, 2 months, who knows. The thing is, you really don't know that either. You couldn't know that. How could you like know when life begins? Like, we don't even know what that means. Like, when do I become a person? What does personhood mean? When does my personhood become like protected under law so I can't be killed? And I think that's the central question. And I think that ultimately neither group actually knows. I don't know that life begins at conception. I couldn't know that. You don't know that life begins at birth. You couldn't know that. But I think the question is then, what do we do with this? If we're actually being honest, that's what we know. No one knows when life begins. What do we do with that honest truth that we don't know? That's the question. And I think that given the standard of American law forever, you always err on the side of safety if there's at all a reasonable doubt of harming someone else, especially killing someone. That is always the precedent in basically every single law. Even if it's a very small margin, even if it's like a 4% margin of like hurting someone or killing someone, the U.S. law always backs the more cautious like method of like action. But I think in this situation, like, you really can't put a number on it. Like, I can't say it is exactly 50%, but I think saying something like 50-50, like, we really couldn't know. You couldn't know. Like, the evidence is basically either way. You couldn't have evidence either way to begin with. I think it's fair to say that it's more or less a 50-50 bet whether a fetus is actually a person. And I think because of that, it is a risk that is absolutely not, it's just unjustified to take that kind of risk, because if you're right and it's not a person, it's literally just a clump of cells, like nothing more valuable than like some bacteria or something like that. If you're right, then a pregnant woman has a significantly easier time in life, and does not have to go through something extremely difficult and very painful, and that could, given her situation, really mess up her life, especially like from a career perspective. And if she's like in a worse off situation, like, it could actually really make her life much more difficult. But if that fetus is actually a person, then it's like, even if that is true, even if a woman has to go through all that shit to deal with birthing the child, I think it's very clearly worth not literally killing someone over, like, that is like, it's two different levels. You can't ever justify killing someone for like a certain amount of difficulty in your own life, especially if it's like only 9 months. Like after that, you can give the kid away for adoption. And that's a whole other thing. Yeah, obviously that's difficult for a kid, but like there is no doubt that at least having life is much better than being killed without being able to make the choice yourself. And especially, it's not even like, oh yeah, well it's just like game over, like it's dead when it's like 0.01 years old. It's like at half a year old, frequently abortions are like full on torture. If the fetus is actually a person, it's full on torture. It's literally, you break the skull, suck the skull. No, first you break the legs, and you suck the legs out, then the arms, and the torso, then the skull. That's just demented. If that's an actual person, it's just, you can't. There's very few things I can imagine that could actually justify that. Maybe if the life of the mother is at risk, then it's like, whatever, you got to pick one of them. Fine, kill the baby. Especially because we're not positive that it is a baby. But if we don't know, you can't do that. And I think that politics are dancing around this, but they don't want to say it. They don't want to talk about it like this because they both just want to wave their flags and stand on their hills. But while we're both being stupid and polarized and not actually approaching the issue objectively, literally, I believe it's at least a million fetuses are being aborted every year. And if those are more than fetuses, if they're actually people, then that's a million people are being openly, brutally murdered and tortured every year. And that is heinous, and I do not think it's worth the risk. And I think that is why I'm pro-life. It's not a religious issue. It's not a conservative issue. I'm actually not conservative. I don't like a lot of conservative takes. But this has got to stop, because we can, until there is some way we can actually justify that there's a very, very significant chance that a fetus is not actually a person, we can't kill it. That's just so obvious. One other thing, again, it's super, super difficult for the mother to go through a pregnancy. I understand. I admit I will never have to deal with that in my life, and I praise God I don't. But having a kid, it's not like it's like a shock. It's not like it was just some random thing that was thrown upon her. Like, oh my gosh, I woke up today and I had a kid. Like I'm pregnant. It's like, by having sex, it's very obvious. Sex is at least in the realm of having children, or at least in the realm of having pregnancy. And if you're gonna have sex, you should be at least precautionarily open to having a kid without killing it, because the kid didn't ask to come into existence. It's your fault that it exists, unless you were raped. But like, realistically, that's a whole different issue. We're not talking about rape. I'm just talking about, this whole thing is just in the context of normal, I had sex, I have a pregnancy now, what do I do with it? That kid is not to blame for his existence, and it is, if it's an actual person, it's not justified to torture him and kill him after you brought him into existence. And in a way, like, obviously men have it easier than women, and I have no doubt about that, and of course it's unfair because of that, and because men are going to be it's a lot easier for men to say what I'm saying right now. But I think if you approach this just logically and objectively, even though I am the person who has it easier, what I'm saying is 100%, like, logically, you can't avoid this. And I think anyone thinking logically, men or women, would completely agree with me that you cannot take that kind of risk over full-blown murder, ever. I think that just needs to get out there. So please, let's not make this a politics issue. Let's not involve liberals and conservatives and all that nonsense. Let's just actually approach this objectively and be like, what is actually the best way to address this situation? Yeah, the end. Sorry, I'll shut up now.